If you've ever clicked a link and landed on a page that says 404 error, you've seen a pretty common HTTP status code. An HTTP status code, like 404, is a 3-digit number that explains what happened between a server and a client after you try to do a certain action online. The web server in this interaction refers to the thing that hosts web content. So, your website would be something that's hosted on a server. A web client is the thing that interacts with the server to bring you its web content. Your web browser is a great example of a client. A 400 error, specifically, means something went wrong on the client's end. It's not a problem with the server. Diving deeper, a 404 error means a page cannot be found at the address you typed. 404 is one of the many HTTP status codes. In fact, you can break all status codes into 5 numerical categories from 100 to 500. Any status code in the 100 range is informational, so it tells you that the server has received a request from the client and it's in the works. The golden HTTP status code falls in the 200 range. This means that everything is working as expected. The server received a request from the client and was able to complete it. The 300 range status code means there's a redirect in place that takes the client from an old URL to a new one. The next 2 status code levels are things you don't want. Errors. Bad for SEO. Bad for people. A 400 error means something went wrong on the client's end. A 500 error places the blame on the server. Something happened on the server's end that made it incapable of handling a client request. Let me explain a few specific status codes you may see in the wild. I've already covered 404. There's its opposite, 200, which means everything is okay. Good job. 301 means a page has been permanently moved to a new location, while 302 means the page has been moved temporarily. 403 means the server is capable of responding to a request, but it won't authorize it. In this case, you likely don't have the credentials or permissions to access a page even though the page exists. And lastly, a 500 error is a generic server error message that means something went wrong. You don't know exactly what happened, but you do know that the server had a problem responding to the request. You may see HTTP status codes outside of those I just mentioned, so definitely do some research if a number you're not familiar with pops up. While I hope you see nothing but 200 status codes, that's not always the case. Just pay close attention to how your website performs. HTTP status codes can have a big impact on your SEO, especially if your site produces a lot of errors. To learn more about updating your website and optimizing it for search engines, check out the rest of the helpful content we have on SEO.com.